artists have managed to sustain a career as successful as Rod Stewart's. He has been belting out hit after hit for more than 4 decades, and tomorrow the gravelly-voiced Tartan Terror celebrates his 70th birthday. Andrew Mercado is here to give us the A to Z of Rod Stewart. Welcome.
Hello.
70 years old.
I know. Do you think he's sexy
rocking.
still?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I saw him in the flesh just recently, actually on my honeymoon, and he looks fantastic. Wears a lot of white linen, but he didn't come from a family of singers, did he?
No, he didn't. He came from a working class family, but the family loved their singers, and the first singer that he was really exposed to was Al Jolson, because his mother and father loved Al Jolson. But then he saw the 1956 film The Girl Can't Help It, first rock and roll, and that really started his styles. But he's always enjoyed a lot of musical styles, and he's always liked mixing them up and kind of doing a bit of everything all through his career.
Early on, how successful was he? Did it take some time for people to warm to him?
Yeah, it did. Look, he actually worked with groups a lot in the early days. He was a busker out on the streets. That's how much he loved to sing. He was with the Jeff Beck Band and a group called Faces, but he was always releasing his own material. And then in 1971, he hit it big with Maggie May, and then all through the 70s and the early 80s, it was really about his original music.
But he could have been a professional soccer player, is that?
Well, he actually admits that he wasn't really good enough to get through to be a soccer player, but he's always loved soccer.
Right.
He built a soccer field in his yard. He's always sort of followed the teams. He's always followed it as his sport, but he did actually admit that he really didn't have the goods. He decided actually that when it was a chance between soccer and music, he realised he couldn't drink as much if he kept playing soccer, so that's why he decided to stick with the music, so he says.
But you talk about the 80s, it was sort of a bit of a slump for him there, wasn't it? He became pretty uncool, but he managed to transform himself after that.
It's true, Jimmy. He tried the new wave and the synth sound. It didn't really work for him. I think he kind of, I think, found it by accident. He started doing a couple of cover versions, Van Morrison, Tom Waits, and then he started, you know, getting back into the charts. So then he started doing the Great American Songbook, doing the classics, and now the great rock and roll classics. And really now, he's kept himself relevant. Although he did do an original album of new music just last year, but I don't remember hearing it on radio that much.
I bought some Christmas carols that he put out at Christmas time as well. He's got, I mean, that gravelly voice of his is his trademark, but didn't he get an illness somewhere along the way that almost stopped the career?
Yeah, in 2001 he had thyroid cancer, major health scare for him. He actually had to relearn how to sing, but he got it back, and the voice is just as gravelly, so it all worked out for him.
That mullet is incredible. He was one of rock and roll's original playboys. He's enjoyed many high-profile romances, and he has a bit of a type, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He loves the pretty blondes.
Good on him.
Although they usually have long hair, and they're often models and actresses, right? So, of course, tonight's the night. You know, we see this film clip. We see the back of Britt Ekland's head there. She's forever immortalised because of that. But he never did marry Britt Ekland. He's been married 3 times.
Sorry.
That's a great shot, isn't it? That is a great shot.
It's a mosaic, that lower region.
That is almost the Cleo centerfold there, I think. He has had 8 children to 5 different women, but he never married Britt Ekland. He married Alana Hamilton and Rachel Hunter, and now he's married to Penny Lancaster.
Rachel Hunter and Penny Lancaster could be the same person.
Yeah. And, you know, they all sort of speak highly of him still. He seems to remain friends with all his ex-wives. Nobody's ever really dumped on him. So I think maybe he likes the ladies, but I think he treats them well.
He is recognised as being one of rock's best interpretive singers, though, isn't he?
Absolutely. And I think that's because in the early days there, he went from folk to blues to mod, and he did so many styles in those early days trying to find his voice. It's meant that in his later career now, he's been able to adapt to whatever he thinks he needs to do. He's smart.
Besides being a bit of a playboy, he's a bit of a nerd, isn't he?
Well, yeah. You know, his father told him that a man needs 3 things in life, a job, a sport and a hobby. So the job's singing, the sport is football, his hobby is model railroads.
No.
He's got this incredible miniature train set, and he's built it on an American industrial city with an oil refinery and a roundhouse roundhouse to turn the tracks around. And he's more excited at being on the cover of Model Railroader magazine twice than he says anything he's done this whole musical
When you
career.
said model, I thought you were going to say long-legged blonde hair.
We're
That
talking
seems
trains.
like a pretty common hobby for him as well.
No, sorry, I was just thinking, hasn't he just given an interview to mark his 70th birthday?
Yes, he had. And he's really sort of shocked people because he says that he doesn't consider himself Scottish. We consider himself Scottish, but he says his father was a little bit Scottish, so that just means he's got a wee bit of Scottish blood in him. He considers himself spiritually a Scottish person, but it's not actually his real
Wears
heritage.
a lot of tartan
That's what I was
pants.
going to say. Yeah,
Doesn't he?
Yeah, he enjoys the tartan pants.
And a kilt, probably.
Andrew Mercado, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to celebrating Rod Stewart's birthday.